Uh, Hi, and welcome to the classes of Vedic astrology. So, today we will be learning about a very important aspect whenever you look at Vedic astrological charts. And the aspect is Yukti, means conjunction. So I believe I had touched upon this particular topic in one of my previous classes, but I have not discussed in detail, that is how to look at a particular yukti. Again, I'm repeating, yukti means it is a combination of two or more planets. When two or more planets, they are sitting in one house of a lagna chart, then we say there is a yukti of two or more planets, that is which are sitting in one particular house. All right, in English it is known as conjunction. I want to discuss in detail, taking out or citing a particular example so that you will understand whenever two or more planets are sitting in one particular house, how will you understand the results of that particular house? How will you understand the results of that particular planet, and how that particular house and how those planets will affect the overall horoscope? Again, before I start with this particular topic, before we proceed further, I will again suggest you or recommend you that go to class 1 and then you start learning the videos, learning the classes from there. So watch my video, watch my class 1, learn that, understand that, then go to class 2, then class 3, and so on. All right. If you have not watched any of my previous classes, especially in a sequential order from class 1, you will not be able to understand whatever I will be speaking in today's class. All right. So it is very important, it is very essential for you to watch my previous classes from class 1 and then you come to today's class. So before I start to talk about Yukti, I want you to draw a Virgo Lagna chart, all right, because I will be citing an example using a Virgo Lagna chart. So the first house is ruled by 6, that is Virgo. So Mercury is the Lagnesh. Now in the Virgo Lagna chart, suppose in the first house, 3 planets are sitting: Mercury, Mars, and Rahu. All right. So now let's try to understand how this particular first house of this particular Lagna chart will perform, how these planets will give effects, that is Mercury, Mars, Rahu, and how Mercury, Mars, Rahu will influence the overall horoscope. All right. So this is a very important topic also, because there has been a confusion with the concept of yukti. So the most important thing that we have to understand, right? Even if there is a yukti of 2 planets or more than 2 planets, each planet will perform in its own way. All right, it's not like that if one planet is getting in conjunction with another planet, so one planet will lose its properties. Its properties might get affected, but its nature will be the same. All right, how that particular planet is able to show its nature because it is getting conjuncted, it is having a yukti with 2 or more planets, that might differ, that might alter. The strength of its nature might alter, but the strength of that planet will remain the same. So that planet, that in each individual planet in a yukti will try all of its abilities to perform its own individual characteristics, to perform, to show their own individual traits, whether positive or negative. That depends whether that particular planet is Yoga Karaka or Maraka, right? So that is how a Yukti will perform. So we have to look at each planet individually in a Yukti. Then only we will be able to understand in a Yukti, in a conjunction, how that particular house will perform, how the planets will perform. So first here in this particular example, we need to understand which of these three planets are Yogakaraka and Maraka, or are all of these three planets Yogakaraka, or are all of these three planets Maraka. All right. So Mercury in this particular Lagna chart, now I think I have discussed in detail about how to analyze a Yogakaraka planet and a Maraka planet for all the ascendants, for all the Lagnas. I had already discussed all of these in detail in my previous classes. All right. So if you have definitely watched, understood and learned and practiced those classes, you yourself now will be able to understand, at least leaving Rahu, because Rahu and Ketu I have not discussed as of now. But Mars and Mercury, which of these two is Maraka and Yogakaraka, you will be able to understand now. All right. Still, I will tell you. So Mercury definitely is the Lagnesh in this particular Virgo Lagna, and it is placed in the first house in its own sign, that is 6. And Mercury is exalted in Virgo. So Mercury is very well placed in this Virgo Lagna. Mars, you will see, is having the ownership, the lordship of 2 houses, that is the 3rd house and the 8th house. So Mars is a Maraka for this particular Lagna chart. So Mars, when it is placed in the 1st house, will be also a Maraka. And Rahu, just understand, I will discuss about the concept of Rahu and Ketu in detail. That is how to understand whether Rahu or Ketu is Maraka or Yogakaraka in a particular horoscope, in a particular Lagna chart. I will be coming to that topic in the upcoming classes. But just touching on this particular point, Rahu is sitting in its friendly sign, Virgo, because I had already discussed about the compatibility of planets. Rahu is sitting in a house which is ruled by Mercury, and Rahu and Mercury are having a friendly relationship. So Rahu is sitting in its friendly sign. So Rahu is Yogakaraka for this particular Lagna chart. Now let's understand. So now you have understood Mercury is Yogakaraka, Mars is Maraka, Rahu is again Yogakaraka. Some will say that Mars and Rahu combined will form an Angarak dosh. We will be coming to all of those things in detail, right? But at least right now, understand, because even if it is a particular dosh forming, right, combination of 2 planets forms a dosh. There are a lot of doshes that I will be covering in the upcoming classes. So Mars and Rahu here will have a tendency, because Mercury is also sitting, so it is not a typical Angarak dosh. But Mars and Rahu will try to give a kind of an Angarak dosh formation. But even in such dosh, we have to understand whether that dosh will give negative results or positive results. Here, there might be a tendency of negative results because Mars is Maraka. Even though Rahu is Yogakaraka, Mars is Maraka. So, you know that the results will not be that great. Individually, let's understand, because it's very important to understand the effects of the planets in a Yukti individually. So Mercury will give good effects in the 1st house. Mercury with his 7th drishti will also give good effects in the 7th house, that is ruled by Pisces, right? So this is how Mercury will perform. During its Mahadasha, during its Antardasha, Mercury will give good effects. No doubt in that. Very good effects. Mars here will have bad effects on the 1st house. So whatever good effects Mercury will create in the 1st house, in the Lagnesh, Mars will try to restrict that good effects. And the inauspicious effects or the bad effects of Mars will be specially understood, majorly understood during, first of all, during the Mahadasha of Mars, and next during the Antardasha of Mars. All right. Mars will also have inauspicious effects in the 4th house, in the 7th house, and also in the 8th house. Because Mars sitting in the 1st house will have its 4th drishti in the 4th house, its 7th drishti in the 7th house, and its 8th drishti in the 8th house. So in all of these 3 houses, Mars will try to create problems. Again, mainly during its dasha and major dashas, that is Mahadasha and Antardasha. Rahu will give good effects. Whatever good effects Rahu has, I had already discussed that what are the good characteristics of Rahu. All right. What are the good traits of Rahu? Even though Rahu has a lot of negative departments, that's why it is never suggested to wear a gemstone for Rahu, even if Rahu is Yogakaraka for that horoscope chart. Because Rahu has a lot of negative departments. There is a lot of negative characteristics about that planet Rahu that is believed in Vedic astrology. But Rahu here in this aspect, being when it is a Yogakaraka planet, Rahu will not show its negative traits. Rahu will mainly concentrate or mainly show its positive characteristics, whatever positive departments Rahu has. So Rahu will have good effects on the Lagnesh, that is the 1st house. Rahu will have good effects on the 5th house, on the 7th house, and on the 9th house, because Rahu has 3 drishtis, similar to Jupiter and similar to Ketu. It has a drishti on the 5th house, the 7th house, and the 9th house. All right. So from Rahu sitting in the 1st house with its 5th drishti will positively aspect the 5th house, with its 7th drishti will positively aspect the 7th house, and with its 9th drishti will positively aspect the 9th house. All right. So this is how we have to look at yuktis. We have to look at conjunctions from a particular house. Also, we need to understand, suppose there is a Mahadasha of Mercury and an Antardasha of Mars. So whatever good effects Mercury will try to show during its Mahadasha, during that Antardasha of Mars, in this example, Mercury will face problems because Mars is sitting with Mercury, and Mars will try to restrict, will try to create problems with Mercury giving good effects. All right. So under such situations, you have to pacify Mars, that using astrological remedies, you have to pacify Mars so that Mars doesn't give bad effects, or the bad effects of Mars is nullified. That is why we are learning Vedic astrology, right? Because the good planets will anyway give good effects as long as degree wise they are strong. But the most important use of Vedic astrology is to convert the negative into positive. So here we have to nullify the negative effects of Mars, and we have to try to create the positive effects of Mars. We have to try using the science of Vedic astrology, using the belief, using the techniques of Vedic astrology. We have to increase the power of Mars in a positive way, and we have to decrease the inauspicious effects of Mars. So this is how we have to look at yuktis. This is how we have to look at conjunctions. Similarly, during the Mahadasha of Mars, during the Antardasha of either Mercury or Rahu, even Mercury and Rahu will try to give good effects, but Mahadasha of Mars will create a lot of problems. So here we have that individual who has this particular combination needs to do the proper astrological remedies to pacify, nullify, completely diminish the negative effects of Mars, and they have to try to improve Mars in a way that Mars gives positive effects, all right? Because Mars also has a huge significance in an individual. We have to understand that we cannot remove a power of a planet from an individual's overall working, astronomical working, because all the 9 planets are having an influence on an individual. That's what astronomy, that's what astrology is all about. It's not like that 1 or 2 planet doesn't have any influence. It might have, like you can say that when the degrees are very weak, but still influence will be there. And Vedic astrology is all about maintaining the positivity, decreasing the negativity, and converting negative into positive. It means maintaining the positivity of auspicious Yogakarka planets, increasing the positivity of auspicious Yogakarka planets when that planets are especially not powerful degree wise, and to nullify, to completely diminish the inauspicious effects of Maraka planets, and to use proper accurate Vedic astrological techniques so that Maraka planets will also provide auspicious effects in that individual. All right, then only we say that Vedic astrology helps. This is why we are learning, this is why I am teaching you Vedic astrology. And just I will also just touch, because one particular point before I close off, or before I end today's class. There I have already discussed there are 5 type of dashas: Mahadasha, Antardasha, Pratyantar Dasha, Sukshma Dasha, and Pran Dasha. Out of these 5, we only pay importance, major importance on 2 dashas, that is the Mahadasha and the Antardasha. Mahadasha has 70% effect on an individual. Antardasha has 20% effect. All right. So combined, or you can say 65-35, some people say in that particular way. I'm just trying to give a number, because even though I'll not be able to completely numerically state how much Mahadasha, how much percentage of importance Mahadasha is having, I'm only saying this to give you a clarity that Mahadasha has 70% effect on an individual, Antardasha has 20% effect. So 90% is covered from Mahadasha and Antardasha only. The remaining 3 dashas, Pratyantar Dasha, Sukshma Dasha, and Pran Dasha, these 3 dashas combined will create only 10%. So we have to mainly look at Mahadasha and Antardasha of a particular planet, or what that individual is currently going through, which particular Mahadasha that individual is going through, what is that Antardasha that is that individual is going through, what are the upcoming Mahadashas, what are the upcoming Antardasha. This we have to understand in order to properly gauge, in order to properly analyze how an individual's horoscope is functioning. All right, whether the Mahadasha is giving good effects, or whether the Antardasha is giving good effects, whether the Mahadasha is giving bad effects or the Antardasha is giving bad effects. That will completely depend on whether the planets, the respective planets are, whether they are Yogakarka or they are Maraka in that particular Lagna chart. So this is what I wanted to discuss in this particular class. I will explain it to you in detail, that is what an individual needs to do in order to completely nullify, completely diminish the negative effects of Maraka planets, what an individual needs to do in order to create positive effects from Maraka planets, what an individual needs to do in order to improve or increase the positivity of Yogakarka planets. I will discuss about all of these astrological remedies, the astrological, Vedic astrological guidance in detail in the upcoming classes. So we are now going step by step. All right. So this is what I wanted to discuss in today's class. Before you sign off, please subscribe to this particular YouTube channel. This is every time I'm just requesting the same thing. like my videos, share my videos, and if you have any doubts related to the topics of Vedic astrology that I am discussing, please share your doubts, your queries in the comment section, and I will definitely try to answer them. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next class.